Look at this. We've got two of the greatest athletes of all time, two of the greatest boxers of all time, the baddest man on the planet, the one and only Mike Tyson, and Mr. Y'all must have forgot himself, the one and only Roy Jones Jr. Again, they do battle for the very first time on November 28th, live on TysonOnTriller.com. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. This is very exciting stuff and somewhat surreal, if I'm being honest, as a longtime fight fan. Mike, I'll start with you. I think the biggest question that everyone wants to know the answer to is why? Why at 54 years young? Why after you fought over 15 years ago, your last fight? Why are you coming back now?
Listen, I just feel magnificent. I've been training. Someone gave me a proposition to come fight. I believe it was Bob Sapp. And at first I said, hey, forget that. I don't want to fight nobody. Then a light bulb went off in my head and said, Bing, what kind of rules would he like to fight? And he said, I said, would he box me? I'm the Marcus Queensberry. And then they called me, said yes. And then it went from him to someone else, and then from Shannon Briggs to someone else. And now I know I'm sitting here, I'm fighting Roy.
And yes, you are fighting Roy, and he's the biggest name of all those names that you just mentioned. Roy, when you were offered this fight against Mike Tyson, what was your initial reaction?
I mean, how can you say at a time when we're going through COVID, we got everything that everybody's faced with adversity right now. So while everybody's faced with adversity, you want to be a person who gives them something to look forward to, right? So when you get the biggest adversity to ever knock on your front door, to ring your phone, how can you say no?
November 28th at the Staples Center in downtown Los Angeles. First up, as far as media questions are concerned, let's go to Gene Wang of Washington Post. Gene, you're up.
Hey, Mike. So I wanted to ask you about your last fight, which was in Washington.
Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, man. It's called
What do you recall from that night? Not so much the fight itself, but kind of the aftermath of that fight as you're leaving the ring. Kind of what was going through your mind at that point, and your future.
I was happy to leave the ring, man. I dread even being in the ring at that time. I was fighting this for financial purposes and stuff. I was on a whole different. I was on drugs back then. I was a whole different person back then. You know, I have the desire to do this now and the will to do this now. And that guy that was in Washington D.C., he was just a ghost of me. I'm just ready to do this stuff, and I'm feeling really great. And I don't want to. I want the world to see how great I look.
Of Mike training at the plate, some viral footage of Mike that has surfaced, and if so, what do you think of how he looks?
Who, me?
Yeah, to you, Roy.
Oh yeah, I think he looked awesome. I mean, he looked very good. I was very
Yo,
proud.
can I commentate too, bro?
Bounce back the way he did, because most guys at 54, they start to count themselves out. And you got to think about boxing. When I came along at 32 years old, you were considered an old guy. You couldn't box no more. Now to see Mike be able to hit the pads and hit the body bag the way he's doing it, I mean, it's phenomenal. It's crazy. But we're freaks. That's why this is such a big thing. We're two of the most explosive guys to ever touch a boxing ring. At 54, I would have watched him beat the mitts in the bag more rather than any other young guy right now, because it's so exciting. And at 51, I'm so fast that people are looking at it and saying they got to be speeding this up. No, they're not. But when you got two legends like that, how can you not get right? He inspires me just by how hard he's working and how much he's preparing to get back in the ring. And he's 3 years older than me. So if he can do it, why can't I? I know I'm smaller, but it's what it is.
Harder than anything.
Exactly.
All right, next up, we'll go to Stephen Keating of Reuters. Stephen, you're up. Stephen, are you there? Stephen, you have to unmute.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead, Stephen.
Hey, Roy, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm good. I just wanted to ask, how did you, knowing that you're going against Mike Tyson, knowing what's at stake, knowing that you're fighting 8 rounds with the 12-ounce gloves, do you still prepare with that same intensity that you did back in the day? Do you still train with that same intensity that you did back in the day?
Honestly, you have to be a fool not to. You go in the ring with one of the most dangerous men to ever grace the boxing ring. How could you go in there with 12-ounce gloves on, which is only 2 ounces bigger than what you normally fight in? You got on 12-ounce gloves, with one of the hardest punches in boxing history, the youngest heavyweight champ of all time. And you're gonna not prepare to your utmost intensity? Are you crazy? It should be even better or higher than your last time or your most intense times were, because this is a bigger situation.